Hey everybody, Ken here with the Overlay, a poker podcast brought to you by CCG Poker Radio and Paramount Social Club in Houston, Texas. Brandon, my co-host, my bestest buddy, my poker guru, the probably top 3 people I call every day.
I think I made it to number 2 on your favorites?
Pretty sure, yeah. I don't know if Apple actually changes that stuff, but you were like number 2. It's kind of gross. Apparently,
and I think you said I was just under your wife because I had to be type thing.
Yeah, I think I moved. I think Apple is smart enough to know that they can't move it above my wife because then she'd be mad. But I think on average, I definitely call you more than her.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's not weird at all. Episode 21. No. What's episode 21 going to be about, Brandon?
Poker movies. Poker movies.
Yeah,
specifically.
I would say poker movies, and then when poker's in a movie, because not all movies are about poker. Obviously the big elephant in the room is Rounders. Rounders is a movie with poker in it, as well as it's basically a movie just about poker, the poker scene, the poker industry, backroom games, WSOP stuff, different types of games. There's a lot of stuff going on there, but it's very much a poker movie. But then you get a movie I don't know. Well, the other big one we're going to talk about is Casino Royale, a James Bond film. That's obviously not a poker movie, but it's in the movie, right? Poker makes a guest appearance,
and it gets a nice 5-6 minute scene in there.
Yeah, it gets a couple of good. It's definitely
they run a flop, turn, river, betting, action.
It's like a big part of the movie, right?
Yeah, right.
And of course, Casino Royale came out in 2006, which is about when the first online boom hit, right? That was poker heyday, yeah?
Oh, man. 2006?
Yeah, I mean, literally, poker was on every TV show, radio show, magazine. Phil Ivey was a freaking superstar because everybody loved poker so much.
Yeah,
Full Tilt was still a thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There were 8 TV shows on in 2006, which is weird to think that was 14 years ago. Holy cow.
No.
I'm old. You're old. In 2006, how old were you?
15.
Woo! Watching high stakes poker, thinking someday I'm gonna be one of those guys there. And then lo and
I already
behold,
had a 5-figure cash by then. So
5-figure. Did you say 5-finger or 5-figure?
5-figure.
Boom! I don't even know if I have a 5-figure cash. I mean, I do.
Yeah. My dad cashed it out on net teller for me.
Oh, wow. Is statute of limitations over that 15 years later? You're probably good, right?
Gotta be. I think it was, it was just
considering it was full tilt and most of those guys either pleaded out or in jail.
Millions.
Or gone.
I'll be okay.
Yeah, you'll be fine. All right, so I want to do, top poker movies, top movies with poker in them. I think we're going to kind of jam them together because when I first thought of this, I was like, cool, let's talk about our top poker movies and top poker scenes in movies. It's pretty tough. Poker doesn't get a huge Hollywood kind of.
No.
There's not a ton in there. I wonder why that is. I'm looking at popular movies about poker and damn, there is not a lot. We're getting pretty low here and this is some pretty bad stuff. I mean, one of these looks like a kid's high school project and shop.
Yeah.
That's how far down they go.
I've seen the Cooler. Seems like that'd be good.
The hell's the Cooler?
I don't know. 2003.
Maybe we should have some underground movies to watch because I've never even heard of that one.
I know.
And I did find a movie on here that a guy had originally contacted me Cold Deck, I see it. Many, many, many years ago. Probably 7, 8, somewhere in there, 2007, 2008. And he wanted to do a premiere with CCG, and we tried to do it, but then the funding fell through for his movie, so it never really panned out. And then I see it came out, and it's got 13% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nice.
So I might have dodged a bullet on that one.
Probably. Hey, all press is good press.
Any content is good content. All right, you want to do top movies?
Yeah, I haven't seen too many of these, but I honestly think in terms of the best movie that represents the poker world the best, I mean, obviously Rounders, but Rounders, what year did Rounders come out? Do we have that?
You fell away from the phone there.
Oh, is that better?
That's much better.
Okay, sweet. So Rounders came out in what?
98.
98. So that's still kind of
Pre-poker.
Even though it's the most relevant, it's still
super early.
Poker boom.
That's like caveman drawings for like poker.
They're just now like in that movie in 98, they're just now talking how No Limit Poker is taking over. Right. And it's the Cadillac of poker.
Which we always talk about. It's in the movie Rounders. Short of the 2 scenes with Teddy KGB, he doesn't play No Limit Texas Hold'em in any of the other scenes, right?
Right. Like the one where they get caught cheating. That's stud.
Stud. Yep. They play a lot of 7-card stud. No real Omaha, right? It's mostly stud games.
I think it's stud. And is there a limit? Is there a limit Hold'em scene?
They might play limit 08. To be honest, I don't know. That might be stud 8.
Yeah, it's probably just stud
I think
8.
it's mostly a stud movie, which in all actuality, pre-No Limit Hold'em popularity of it's fast, it's simple, it's a game you can learn in 10 minutes and takes a lifetime to master. You know, everybody who was a professional card player played 7-card stud in some way, shape, or form. I knew a guy, my brother and him were buddies in college, and that kid's dad, I know it's a little bit of 3rd degree or 6 degrees of separation there, but one of my brother's roommates in college, his dad was a professional 7-card stud player in like the 90s all the way into the 2000s, and he ended up transitioning from stud into No Limit Hold'em because of the popularity of the game. But you put 3 kids through college playing stud poker in Vegas.
Right. You got to remember that's limit.
Oh, yeah.
So you're only winning 2, 3, 4. If you're lucky,
it's a
6
grind.
Big bets. Yeah.
There's no binking off $1 million friggin' Titan tournament, or what do they call it? Goliath. Nope. Colossus. There you go. It's not like you're drilling some huge tournament wins here. There were no stud. It was all cash games. You know, super grind.
And think of it, even in the cash game, it's not like you can just double up or triple up. Like that doesn't happen in limit games.
Get a quick session in and be like, all right, cool. I made my whatever X I wanted to make. I'm going home.
No.
Should almost do an episode about that. Thinking about like what to do when you double or triple up, like in the first 20 minutes of play. How long should you be playing for, or should that even affect it? But I won't go down that rabbit hole yet. I want to stick to poker movies. So Rounders is a great movie. It kind of came out in a time where it was right on the cusp of when people were really starting to play No Limit Texas Hold'em, and I think that movie is a perfect transition between, you know, 7-card stud, I'll get it out there, 7-card stud, and the game moving as the most popular game to No Limit. Would you say there's a point now where No Limit Texas Hold'em is no longer the prince of poker? That maybe...
No, it still is, but I think it's...
Do you think Omaha might be kind of making a move on the king, prince, whatever term I'm going with?
I'm trying to think of like an analogy where like something like, you know, Microsoft is still the king, but like Apple like has made it like Apple is kind of the PLO where people are kind of tired of Microsoft, and it's still king,
right.
But there's this new variant that, you know, Omaha is really, it's not there yet to take over, but it's definitely made its
presence known. It's definitely a game where I think the regulars and the grinders and the people that play, maybe not so much for a living, but that play on a very, very regular basis, you know, semi-serious players, I think they're kind of transitioning towards Omaha. More along the lines of it's just, you know, more fish in the game, possibly.
Yeah, I also think it more like people that want to play poker for like to gamble or to like for a hobby, even that they kind of feel like Hold'em is too slow, too boring, too solved, there's too many good players. It's kind of meh. Like Omaha, you can get any 4 cards, you can win, and you can win for months at a time.
It's so funny because I was just gonna say that in Omaha, the difference between the good players and the bad players is a huge, cavernous, gigantic, you know, scale. Meaning how bad the bad players are versus how good the good players are. In Omaha, I think is very big. When you get to Hold'em, the game's not solved, but it's definitely, there's a lot of information out there about No Limit Hold'em, and I believe that the difference between the good players and the bad players is much closer together. Does that make sense?
100% agree.
So it's weird because you were like, the shitty players want to play PLO that just want to get it in, gamble, because like any 4 cards can win. Worst you could be in Omaha, 60-40 pre-flop, which I'm not sure, but I think I've said it so often that I've convinced myself that it's true. It's so funny because the exact reason why the good players want the bad players in on PLO is because the bad players are like, I got just as good a chance as everybody, which is what I think No Limit Hold'em used to be. It's like, yeah, just get any 2 cards, jam it in there, and you can win.
Yeah, I think with No Limit Hold'em is like even the fish today in 2020 would smoke a game in 2004.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, the worst players that walk into CCG would probably be a favorite playing Chris Moneymaker Heads Up in 2002 or 2001 or whatever that is.
I would agree with that. I would think like the play got better. And that's a fun thing to think about in general because like it's something that people talk about. Like if Babe Ruth played in today's baseball game, like in the major league, how would he stack up against everybody else?
Right, and it's not that like that you can't really. The way that I view this, and I do the same thing with MJ and LeBron and all these.
Perfect example, yeah, maybe better example.
Different eras is like I don't look at if the best player, if the best player in the league today, LeBron is better than the best player in the league in 1997, Michael Jordan. I look at the 100th best player in the NBA in 2020 versus the 100th best player in the NBA in 1997. And I guarantee you the 100th best player in the NBA in 2020 is way better.
Yeah, I'm reluctantly going to give
MLB.
that to you.
You look at the backup anybody in the 1930 Yankees or the 1930 Cubs. Like that backup player is nowhere near the athlete or the player that whoever the backup is on the Cubs today. So I think that just like you kind of like the scale is ramped up and it's the same thing. Every fish knows that when it folds you on the button, you can raise and you can take advantage of the hand and steal the blinds and play the hand in position.
Right.
Nobody knew that in 2002. The good players knew that because the bad players didn't.
And maybe even the good players didn't even know why they were doing it. They're like, this is just a good spot. Like it wasn't as like statistically or maybe like how am I trying to think of this? Like they knew it was a good spot, but maybe it was just by intuition versus like these are the proven reasons why this is good. Like X is happening, Y is happening, Z is happening. Boom, this is what you're supposed to do. Where it was just like, man, I'm getting a jive here that every time it gets to me, it's folded through. I can raise and pick it up and play in position. And if I do get a call, I bet again on the flop. And boom, I've got a winner. It gets pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's like it wasn't mathematically proven. They just like saw it by like trial and error and results. And like,
again, intuition, just kind of feeling it. Like, hey, this is I should be doing this more often. All right, so obviously, if you're gonna pick, I don't think there's anybody out there. If you said top 3 poker movies of all time, and again, we're encompassing if the movie is about poker, if it has poker within a scene, a small scene, big scene, whatever the case may be. If there's cards being played in a poker setting in a movie, top 3 movies of all time, I think almost every poker player would include Rounders in that top 3. Yeah?
Agreed. Yep.
Anybody who doesn't just being a jerk and they're just being difficult to be difficult.
They're just a hater.
Yeah, it would be like saying, I don't know, freaking Magic Johnson's the best basketball player of all time. Like nobody's going to argue that. Like he's really good. Just
right. But he ain't the GOAT.
Not including Jordan or what's the other guy's name? LeBron in that is like just stupid. Like that's dumb. Everybody would include those 2 and maybe a third. Anyways,
right.
So obviously Rounders is the top movie of all time. Some of my favorite poker movies, and you said you would kind of let me do this part because you said you hadn't seen as many. Cincinnati Kid with Steve McQueen is a really cool movie. Again, it's about 7-card stud. Steve McQueen plays the Cincinnati Kid, and he's just a grinder. He's just, basically a cooler version of Knish in Rounders, but just Steve McQueen, so he's awesome. But it's good. They do some other gambling. They do some prop bets in there before I don't even know if they called them prop bets then. Like I always tell you that story about him throwing with the kid, the quarter against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And the opening in the beginning of the scene, he throws the quarter. And the idea is you had to bounce the quarter off of the wall, and then it was whoever was closest to the wall after hitting it. And he just beats the kid, and then whoever wins, you each throw a quarter, and then the winner gets to keep both quarters. And then, of course, at the end of the movie, and then he always says, "You're not ready for me yet, kid." And then he gets busted at the end, and then he throws the quarters with the kid, and the kid wins, and the kid gives it back to him. You're not ready yet for me. It's really good. It's pretty funny. You said you really liked Molly's Game. I never saw that one.
I think that would be my number 2.
Really?
And kind of by default. But I remember watching it and thinking like, wow, this is real. I feel like they went into detail about the poker world and they did their research, and it wasn't this unrealistic. I guess we can just touch on the Casino Royale hand where it was like quads over straight flush for $74 million. It wasn't
overdone.
Right. It was very accurate and realistic, and I watched it knowing that I participate in the poker world every day, and I was like, oh yeah, I can believe this. Wow, like this is really well done. And now, I mean, she runs like an illegal home game, and she gets all these like sports stars, and now there's like rumors on who played, like
Leonardo DiCaprio, Spider-Man guy that I can't think of right now.
Tobey Maguire. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's Spider-Man guy.
Ben Affleck played in that game.
Yeah, and like I think like Kevin Garnett or not Kevin Garnett, but Paul Pierce or some of the other athletes too played in it. And I feel like they did a really good job of like showing how kind of scummy and bad it could get when you're talking about that much money and illegal underground games and Russian mobs and IRS and that kind of stuff. And then, but still the integrity of the game and credit. And, you know, I think a guy who was worth all this money ended up couldn't pay his credit and killed himself. You know, just all the kinds of crazy stuff that's like,
right,
this
that
is kind of realistic here.
Yeah, it's realistic and scary, right?
Right. It's obviously scary, but you know, in the end, she gets off. Really, I remember there's a defining moment in the movie, and I've only watched it once, and I feel like I was falling asleep in and out of it because I was watching it in the morning.
There's no spoilers here, is there?
No, not really. Okay. But I mean, the whole game changer is like when they decide to rake the game.
Yeah, I never understood that because I've heard that too. Before that, what was she doing? She was just going on the winners, tipping her out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And they didn't always take care of her?
She was running the game and just like, oh, it's going to be legit. And, you know, it's like, I'm going to waitress it and run these chips and give these guys cigarettes and whatever they want. And the guy's going to win $50K and tip me out $500. Well, 3 people win, you know, you get $1,500 in a day. And you do that, you know, twice a week, you make $150,000, $200,000 a year.
Yeah, it's not bad. I don't know if that math works out, but yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, it's the idea of she's just hoping that they tip. Now, then she got pissed because people were like stiffing her, and then
Now this is see, I don't really remember this part. All I remember is the game was getting too big and there was too much credit, I think, and she like gave the dealer the sign to like rake it. And it was like $1 million pot, and they like rake like just like a flat 2%. Or something like that.
What the hell is 2% of $1 million? I
don't know, 20,000 or 2,000.
1 million times 0.2 is 20,000.
No, 0.002.
How do you just rip 20K?
0.02.
What size chips do you need to have with $1 million pot?
I don't know. They were pretty. It was like 25Ks.
Do you need 100K chips?
I don't think I've ever seen a 100K chip ever play anywhere, like in real life. Like the big Aria games is always the cranberries, the 25K cranberries, and high stakes poker was always like 50K cash bundles.
Yeah, I do. I think that just to hop off of Molly's Game. So you give Molly's Game a huge endorsement. If we had you'd give it a royal flush, straight flush, 4 of a kind. What would you give it? Quads? Okay. That's a pretty solid rating. What about rounders? Let's start our own poker movie rating system. So rounders
is like a straight flush for me.
Yeah, I would say straight flush.
It's like the OG. It's not a royal because
royal I think is like unattainable. Like you'd have to I don't even know what you would need to do in order to get a royal flush for a movie. Like the top, like 100%. But yeah, you're right. I would say rounders has got to be straight flush. Like it's a solid movie. Sorry, I totally derailed my train of thought there. What were you saying beforehand?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Damn it.
Oh, we were high stakes poker 50K.
Oh, thank you, Doug. High stakes poker, I think what made it so cool is because it's always hard for the average person who doesn't play poker to realize, granted, they're saying it's a $28,000 pot, but I don't know how many times I get a phone call where people are like, so if I buy into the $20 early bird, I get $3,000 in chips, and then for $5 more, I can get another $2,000. I was like, yes. Then you get $5,000 all day. And they're like, can I cash it out then? I was like, well, no, it's not cash value. It's just in that tournament, you have like 5,000 points. Like, it doesn't actually convert to any, it's literally worth nothing other than if you win in the tournament, you know? So I think it was always weird for people to see it. But the thing that was so badass about high stakes poker is watching Phil Ivey and who's the Gus Hansen just ripping out these bricks of hundreds, just bricks, all rubber banded. Like, that was crazy to me. I thought that was the coolest thing. I literally never got excited about chips, but when you would watch high stakes poker and he's just boom putting down this brick of hundreds, it was just like, damn. All right, it was awesome. It was the coolest thing. It felt like, even like the Jennifer most money Harmon in the world. What?
And like Jennifer Harmon just popping out 100K. And you're just like, come on, she ain't doing that for real.
It's so cool.
Like, yeah, it is. It is cool. The bricks are definitely
it's what made it. It's like you lose that when you use like the lamers, you know, like lamer chips for $100 bills or whatever.
Yeah.
It's cool and it's fun. You know, like it's kind of like it's very different. The average guy playing 1-2 or 2-5 no limit, and 2-5 no limit's a pretty big game, especially here in the Midwest. I mean, it's not an easy game. Like, that's a legit game here in Chicago, and like, it's not like those guys are gonna. What are you gonna carry around? Like 5K bundles?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not even something that happens. I mean, in your PLO game, it's not like anybody. I mean, what's the max buy-in anyways? $1,000?
Yeah.
It's like, what are you going to do? Bring $1,000 brick of dollar bills? I don't know.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
it doesn't. It loses. And I think it was a very cool thing. If I was a TV producer, like, I'd be like, how do we recreate that? Right? How do you recreate that kind of feeling that the outside person watching it makes it so much more interesting? Same thing with Chris Moneymaker. What made Moneymaker so cool was like the average Joe playing Sammy Farha, like the ultimate freaking badass looking
old school
gambler. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a story there, and that's something that's kind of missing in today's poker TV and
his last
movies.
name was Moneymaker too.
Yeah, it's just it was a very good. People want that story. You need that. It's like you know, it's part of what makes it a great movie. And I'm using the WSOP as like why we still watch it, because it's such an awesome script. You can't even make that up.
You can't even make it up. It's it's better than a movie.
It is. All right. So after that, I want to go with one of my top ones that I don't know if you've ever seen it, is Maverick with Mel Gibson.
So I think I have seen Maverick.
You've seen?
Is that like the old school? Are they on like a boat or something? Or
yeah, it's a riverboat gambling. They're playing on the riverboat, and you actually.
And is there magic?
Is there magic? Like Magic the Gathering?
No, I thought it was like.
Okay, so yeah, I'll get to this.
Show up with the Royals.
I'll do it right now. Yep.
Like...
Okay, here's what happens.
Okay,
so
I like the notes.
What they do is they did a $10,000 buy-in. It was a $10,000 buy-in tournament, and then you played in a pod of like 4 or 5 people, something like that. Okay. And then you had to win all the money from you played until there was one winner from each table. So it was basically a shootout tournament.
Right.
However many tables started, you had to win your table, and then you went to the final table, and then you played out from there. And it was kind of like a hybrid between tournament and cash, although it was basically a cash game that they were saying you can't leave until somebody wins. Like, you either got to go broke or win it all. Like, there's no cashing out. So I guess technically that makes it a tournament then, right?
Yeah, it's a tournament. They're just using cash.
Correct.
Chips.
So they're using cash. So by the time they get to, obviously Mel Gibson gets to the end. The other main character she's like his girlfriend. She gets to the end. The bad guy gets to the end. This dude named the Commodore, which is just a cool badass name in general. He was there, and one other guy. So anyways, they're playing. And then the last hand that it ends up being is the one guy gets quad 8s. There's quad 8s, straight flush, and then Maverick's got 4 to a royal. And
so we're playing 5-card draw.
5-card draw.
Okay.
So they like, and then of course, Maverick catches Mel Gibson's character is Maverick. Maverick catches the dealer cheating, like dealing off. He catches a hanger, so he like grabs his hand. He's like, no, and then he's like, what's the rule on this? I want a new deck shuffled. Blah 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 blah. Like they don't really know what to do, and he's like, I'll just take the top card off of the deck. And that's where it's like, I'm air quoting, that's when the magic happens, because he thinks that he can cut a deck of cards and think of a card and cut right to it. So he like does that in the movie, and he needs the ace of spades to make a royal flush and win the tournament and all the money and all the glory and the girlfriend and blah, 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 blah. And sure enough, he closes his eyes and he reaches over and he picks the card up and he holds it out in front of him and his eyes are closed and he slowly opens them up. I wish you could see my face. It's hilarious. And he slowly opens them up, and then he has this dejected look on his face. Now, the camera doesn't see. You're looking at Mel Gibson's face in the back of the card, and it's, he didn't get the ace of spades. One out of freaking 40-something cards, whatever's left in that deck. I mean, it's such a hammy-ass scene. And he's like, so dejected. And then he throws the card up in the air, and it lands face up in the middle of the hand, and it's, it's the ace of spades. He was joking. He really had it the whole time, folks. It's like, it's so stupid. Like, they didn't need to make it like you said. They took a really good movie with a cool script, had some really great characters, some really cool moments in poker. And then it's like they end it all with like, it all turns out that it's just dumb luck, and he's got the magical hand of knowing if he can cut a deck of cards and get the ace of spades. Like, it's just so stupid. Even though it's still one of my top 3 poker movies of all time. So don't get me wrong. It was
pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, it's still really good. There's a really cool scene in there when he goes to meet kind of all the people who are like trying to grind to get enough money to get this 10K buy-in. And they're all like, he's like, oh, can I play? And they're like, how good are you? He's like, I'll promise to lose for the first half hour. And they're all like, sure, get in there. And of course, you end up finding out later, like, he's just watching the other players to get a feel of how aggressive they are, how loose they are, how tight they are, what kind of player are they, what are they like, what are their tells. And obviously he's like the best poker player, so he can get everybody's tells in half an hour. But it's very cool, because then like he gets a hand, it's a big pot, and he like looks at the clock, and it's like dugunk, it like hits high noon or whatever, and it's like the half hour's up, and now he's allowed to win. And of course he just wins like this massive hand. It's still a really cool movie though. A lot of good poker scenes in it. Sorry, I get excited about Maverick, even when I'm making fun of it.
Yeah, I think that's probably all these other ones that I Googled. I haven't seen any of these.
Yeah, some of them really bad. I just Googled good Lord, I can't read and talk. Popular movies about poker, and Rounders is number 1, Cincinnati Kid, Molly's Game, Maverick, Casino Royale. Let's just get into Casino Royale right now. Can we talk about it? Because like we talked about, 2006 is like the poker boom. Everything was on TV. Poker was huge. That was the year Moneymaker won, right?
No, he won way earlier than that.
2004?
2006 was like Jamie Gold or something.
Really?
Even after that.
I always think it's 06 that he wins.
No, he wins in 2002.
No,
I remember.
Look that up.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. But anyways, poker is huge at this point. Online gambling's big. Everybody's playing. Like I always say this, like it makes a big deal. Even
2003.
Even my grandmother was watching freaking Poker After Dark with Phil Hellmuth. Like, even they watched it. They loved it, you know? So anyways, Casino Royale comes out, which is actually the first Bond book written by Ian Fleming. Little tip for you there. I call this segment of the podcast Ken's Just the Tip.
Nice.
Did you like that one? I've been waiting like a long time to use that. It's great. So, of course, obviously, James Bond goes in. He's got to catch the terrorist Le Chiffre by playing in a poker tournament, super high stakes poker tournament. I think it's like $1 million buy-in or $1 million big blind, or I don't know, something with $1 million. Maybe it was a $12 million buy-in. Anyways, the last hand, Brandon, do you remember what the cards are? Now, I looked them up, so I have a much better idea.
No, I don't really remember.
All right, so
I just know they're straight flushes.
As they go through, you got a king-queen suited, pocket eights, ace-6 off, and 7-5. These guys are playing massive hands with that hot garbage. Pre-flop. Obviously, the flop comes down ace-8-6. with two spades, and the guy with the king queen has spades. So you get guy flops, second nut flush draw, other guy flops middle set, other guy flops top and bottom. James Bond flops 5-7 of spades versus the 8-6. He's got an open-ended straight flush draw. Boom.
Wait, so we have 7-5 of spades, we have a set of eights, and we have
ace six, and then king queen suited, king queen spades.
Okay, got it. So everybody just flops the best.
Literally, if you could draw up cards and make them as good as they could possibly be, that's what you would do. The only guy who kind of sucks there is the king queen, but I don't know, maybe he'd still play. So they all bet, everybody calls, gets to a turn is obvs the 4 of spades, right? So it gives James Bond the straight flush,
gives king queen the second nut flush.
Correct. Nobody else improves or changes. Obviously, the 8s get worse. I think they still bet it. Everybody ends up calling. Obviously, James Bond has the best position, and he's just calling. He's not raising anywhere. River pairs the board with the ace of spades, giving the first player first action to have a king-high flush draw. The 8s now have a full house 8s over aces. The ace-6, which is Le Chiffre, our bad guy, he's got, second nut full house? And then you got...
he loses to ace-8, right?
Right, he loses to ace-8. And then James Bond's got 7-5 straight flush. And they, the king-queen, snap all in. 8s...
Well, he improved to the nut flush.
8s, snap all in. Le Chiffre, ace-6, he raises with his 8 ace-6 full house. With the board, it's insane to me that any player would do this. And then, of course, obviously, James Bond re-raises all in. The other guy calls, and he wins with a straight flush. It's so lame. And then they have to, go in order of, all the side pots. So they're always okay, for this... So I will say this. Considering the cards themselves are very stupid, I think the hands never play out like that. At least they had the knowledge to end up going... All right, smallest pot first, which happens to be the king queen, and then it's ooh, king high flush, and then the other guy shows.
Except for it should have gone because James
side
Bond's
pots first, right? Side pot should have gone first.
Yeah, and James Bond's in all the pots, so he should be flipping over his cards first. But they do it for the dramatic.
They do it for the dramatic side, so they start with They start over here and just basically go in order. It's kind of a dumb finish, especially since with that. With that exact scenario, James Bond could have had ace-8 and still won everything.
Right.
There's a bigger fault. He didn't need to have.
They went overboard.
Right. And then why wouldn't Le Chiffre have the ace-8? So at least he flopped top 2.
Right. And rivered the second nuts.
The second nuts. The only 2 cards that beat him would be 5-7. No. Now the only cards that beat him is 5-7. You also have, ace-8.
Yep.
I just don't get it. It's so kind of lame. And that movie was pretty good in general. It was great. In the book Casino Royale, which again is Ian Fleming's first James Bond novel, they're playing baccarat. They don't play poker. They play baccarat. Same principle though. It's not as lame. Baccarat. I just like saying it.
Do they scream monkey?
No, that would be great. I was screaming monkey in my room as I was reading it, and it's he's got a natural 8 or 9 or whatever. I mean, it was great. I think that's how I learned how to play baccarat, was from that book, which is pretty cool. So, James Bond movie, awesome that it kind of hit right in the time. It had 2 big cultural phenomenons. It had poker in that movie, in the Casino Royale film. It had poker, which was huge at the time. And you know what the other thing they did? They did it in the opening scene. Parkour. They had this whole James Bond doing parkour to open up the James Bond movie. He's chasing this dude who's got a bomb in his backpack or whatever. And he's running to some embassy. And yeah, it's super badass. And it's parkour. So it's man, I could see these Hollywood guys are all right, we want to make a new James Bond movie and we want to jam in everything that's super popular right now. So let's do parkour, poker, and I don't know what else they could do. Aston Martin. Okay, great. That's awesome. Let's do a movie about that. Okay, cool. You guys write the script. We'll figure it out, film it up. It'll make billions. It probably did.
It definitely did.
Probably did. All right. Well, I mean, that's really the best movies. Do you want to talk about any really bad movies that had poker in them?
I don't have any really bad movies, but I do have a sleeper pick for good poker that it was a ESPN show called Tilt.
Yes. I remember watching it. I watched that.
The Matador.
Yes. And that was, God, what is his name in real life? It's the guy from Kill Bill. He's in it. Damn it.
No idea.
Tilt, the TV show. Yeah, ESPN. That was a good movie. But
it was a show.
Sorry, I meant show. Even in that show, they had some silly stuff. Yeah, what is that guy's freaking name? It was kind of lame because they're like, oh, that guy's an online pro. You'll notice every time he's got a good hand and he wants to raise, he uses his index finger, double clicking like he's using a mouse to raise. That's his tell. I'm like, really? That's the tell you guys came up with? That one? He's touching the felt like he's clicking on a mouse to raise? Seriously, who came up with that idea? It's terrible.
Yeah, I just remember like being fascinated as a 14-year-old kid, like watching it. It came on like after the WSOP footage in the summer, because the summer would they would start in like the end, like right now, like the end of July, early August. They would do an episode for like the circuit events and stuff, like leading up to the side events, like leading up to the WSOP, which they don't do so much anymore.
Right.
Like it's just the ESPN coverage is just the main event, and I remember after that, it would be Tilt. And I remember watching the whole 1 hour episode, not caring about any of the drama for like the two poker hands that you would see during the.
Yeah, it was good. I remember watching it thinking, this is pretty good. Like, it was interesting. I remember my brother and my dad would watch it in my parents' basement, like whenever it came out. It was like, all right, let's watch some HPT. Rerun or live or whatever the newest one was, and then you would wait, and then after that would be Tilt on ESPN, and it was great.
Yeah, 2005.
Yep.
Only ran one season, nine
episodes, one season. I don't remember anything about it other than I thought it was pretty good. Michael Madsen is the character, or is the actor who played like the lead guy, the Matador.
Yeah. Yeah, so
there's some really dogs in here too. Like there is what else we got? Lucky You remember that movie with Drew Barrymore and the guy who played the Hulk? That was really bad. High Roller was the Stewie Unger story, but that was more of like Stewie just kind of screwing up.
That's like a documentary.
Yeah, it's not a documentary, but like, you know, like it was more about, it was his life, not so much about poker. And they talked a lot about gin and how he was just a degenerate gambler who kind of like went the wrong way. That was really pretty. I mean, it wasn't a bad movie. It just, you know.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Wasn't too bad.
Cold Deck, I've never seen.
Deal with Burt Reynolds. I don't even know that was the thing. Mississippi Grind has got, what's his name? Ryan Reynolds in it. I had no idea what the hell that is. The Sting is actually one that we didn't talk about, and that'll be the last one we're going to do because I don't want this episode to go too terribly long on poker movies because it'll be as long as a poker movie. But The Sting was with Paul Newman, and the only thing I remember about that movie is they're playing like in a train car, and they're kind of like playing on credit where it's not like you're going to owe me at the end for whatever the tally is. It'd be like playing gin, where it's like, all right, we're playing for $5 a point, and then at the end of the game, it's like, all right, you owe me this much. And anyways, they're trying to cheat Paul Newman, and he ends up cheating them. So it's literally like there's nothing better than cheating a cheater. What movie is that from? Trying to think. What movie is that from? Nothing better than cheating a cheater. But anyways, he ends up cheating them, and they think he's got, full house aces full of fives or whatever, and the other guy's got like quad threes, and then he just turns around and lays down his hand. You're expecting him to see this full house and lose all his money, and sure enough, he's got quad jacks. And he didn't have quad jacks.
Joke's on you.
Yeah, he didn't have quad jacks at the river. Like they're playing 5-card draws. So he did after a second draw, and he literally plays like my dad long ball. He holds his cards up against like his chest, like near his nipple. And he's just barely peeking down so nobody behind him can see his cards. Only he can see his cards. And sure enough, you see it, and he's got like a full house, and then he puts the cards down, and then the action ensues. And the other guy you can clearly see is cheating with his quad threes or whatever. I don't remember the exact hands, but he's cheating. And then when Paul Newman rolls it over, he's like, haha, quad jacks, and then shows him, and it's like, whoa!
Well, how'd that happen?
Super good, super good. Anyways, that's going to do it for this week, unless, Brandon, you got anything else for me?
Nah, I mean, 2 months, 2 million. That's not really a show. That's kind of like that's a show on, like, I don't think it's on Netflix anymore.
What is it?
It's 2 months, 2 million. It's like 4 kids. That one of them became a big pro, won a couple bracelets.
Oh, is that where they were like locked in the poker house? Like,
they go in a poker house and they try to win 1 million and 2 million in a summer.
Oh, wow.
And they all just like share a bankroll. And
did they get close?
No, they win like.
But that was like reality TV, though, right?
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, was it like real or no?
No, it was real. It was real.
Bet Raise Fold 2013. What is that movie? I mean, there's so many random ass movies here that you start digging into it. It's like, what is this?
Runner, I think is a decent one that we didn't touch.
Yeah, Runner's the one with Justin Timberlake and Ben Affleck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Gambler with Mark Wahlberg, was that any good? I never saw it. I bought that the other day.
I never saw it either.
Yeah. Honeymoon in Vegas has got a pretty funny poker scene in it.
Molly's Game gets the best Rotten Tomatoes, 82.
What about what about Rounders?
65.
That's not bad.
Nah, but they're judging the whole movie and not the poker.
Yeah, I think the movie's great. What do they know? Anyways,
right.
That's going to do it for episode 21, The Overlay, a poker podcast talking about movies in America, history, about poker. I went a little crazy with my Maverick,
a little bit.
A little bit.
It's good.
I got to go crazy every once in a while. Other than that, coming up on the podcast, we're going to have a couple of guest speakers, guest hosts, guest interviewees. What do we call them?
Guests.
Yeah, we're going to have a couple of guests coming up, one from a really cool organization called Poker Power, and also possibly a poker author who's also pretty notorious in the Chicagoland area. We won't give out his name quite yet. You're going to have to wait and listen to episode 22 or 23. Unless 23, we're going to do some kind of Michael Jordan thing.
The Last Dance is on Netflix now.
I just saw that, and I almost watched it today while I was answering emails. It's great. Anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. We will catch you next time. Brandon, you still got a tagline yet? 21 episodes in?
I got nothing.
I got nothing. See you next time, everybody. Bye.